Welcome to Inside the Numbers, the nation's longest running sports betting talk show on the Empty the Bench podcast network. Now let's turn it over to Danny B.
Everybody, welcome to Inside the Numbers, episode number 3 on Empty the Bench podcast network. A beautiful day. We're recording earlier today. The show will be available around 4 o'clock Eastern. You can catch it again right here on Empty the Bench podcast network anytime, YouTube, etc., Twitter, Facebook. I talked about having a great guest. I was hoping Joe Lisi would join us. I got this damn Empire State Building. You see it, fellas? I feel like King Kong trying to get around a roar. But speaking of a gorilla, I got the best college guy coming to join us on Monday to discuss the NFL draft. Joe Lisi, you're familiar with his work. He was part of the Sid Sports Sunday show. Yes, he's very talented, and he'll join us Monday. And today's going to be a pretty quick show. I have Nick. He'll be jumping in a minute. We're going to discuss the Yankee-Detroit game. Miggy's $2.99. Hoping, was it classless or not? Was it strategic or not? Well, we'll let Nick share his thoughts on that. It's the same thing. You can go back and forth with the Kershaw perfect game. A lot of fans are disappointed, etc. So anyway, big weekend tonight. We got some hoops, 3 games. You got, what do we have? We have Miami up 2-0 at Atlanta. And for tomorrow, I hope Corey Parson, he was on our show a couple of weeks ago, right before the playoffs. He said Toronto's going to win the East. And I said, worst case, you can hedge it. So I hope he's hedged 2 of those 3 losses. Tomorrow's crunch time. Not a big NBA guy, as I made clear, but I kind of like Toronto tonight plus the 3 points. You know, and there's another game tomorrow, Boston at the Nets. Nets just been dominated. Boston's been physical. Nets are the favorite. Nick will elaborate on his beloved Brooklyn Nets. I always want to call them the Jersey Nets. I always want to remember Chocolate Thunder. Such a good man. I miss that fella. Big fella, I should say. What do we got going on? Cardinals, they're playing the Reds. You know, I love Albert back at home. Cincinnati, I thought they'd do better. You know, it's still early, but off to a horrible start. Miami, Atlanta tonight. I kind of like Atlanta a little high at minus 145 as we're recording. So take a peek at Atlanta tonight. 6-18 playing a 5-7 Marlin team or Miami team, whatever you want to call them. Colorado, they're playing good ball. Let's see if Miggy gets his 3,000 hit on his first at bat tonight. I hope so. I'm a big fan. And again, we'll discuss that in just a minute. Toronto in first place. Houston struggling right now, 6-6. You got Verlander tonight, excuse me. Dodgers and Padres. How about that Wild West out there? Very competitive, everybody. But Arizona, and they're hosting the Mets tonight. Throwing for the Mets is Peterson. Because why? Because the doubleheader threw the rotation out of whack. Milwaukee, Philly, kind of like the over tonight's that type of weather here. I feel, and Phillies do. They snapped out of it a little bit their last game at the Rockies. They scored 9 runs, I believe. So I like some runs tonight. Over 8, Milwaukee, Philly. And again, it's early, but just the way the weather's like. And the Yankees as well tonight. They're over 8 playing Cleveland. Cleveland sitting first in the Central, 7-5. Yankees 7-6 sitting behind Toronto. It's been pretty competitive thus far. A little over 2 weeks into the season. Mets, I think, have the biggest lead in the NL East. And again, I want to make this a quick show tonight. Why? Because it's nice out, and I'm sure you people have things to do. And come Monday, we'll have Joe Lisi, and we'll spend a little bit more time with you. So, Nick, let's bring you right on in here. I want to talk about tonight's games. I want to talk about tomorrow's NBA games. But let's first dive into something that you're a little sensitive about. You're a sensitive fella, and that's fine. Me, I don't let that stuff bother me as much. Was it classless? Was it strategic? Love Miggy, but he's going to get it tonight, hopefully, in his first at bat or 2. So your thoughts on yesterday's move by the Yankees to walk him?
See, I actually have no problem with the move. I actually think that it's part of the game. I'm tired of these unwritten rules. I'm tired of all this nonsense of, well, if you hit a batter, that means that I have to nail somebody on your team. I'm tired of
Eye for an eye.
I know. I'm just tired of all these unwritten rules. Like, if they want to walk them, let them walk them. They lost the game anyway because they walked them.
Nah.
So
Yeah, bad decision. I mean, you can go back and forth. That's why everybody has their opinions. Me personally, I don't get too caught up in that. It's out of our control. You can like it or not. And that's one thing as you get older, Nick, I'm twice your age. You learn to just put some things that are out of your control and just forget about it. There's so many other things to worry about. And yeah, so whatever, let's see what happens tonight. Let's see what happens with the Yankees. They're back. They haven't been playing great. They never start off great anyway. They always have a sluggish start. Look at their history the last several years. So, and the Yankees are due for some runs. We should see some runs scored by both teams. Now, I like Cleveland, I know you're not a big fan of them, and I'm not even going to use their last name. I refuse to use that last name.
well, they're
So
now
I'm
the
just going to
Guardians.
call them Cleveland. What's that?
They're now the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, I don't like saying that name. I don't like change. I like Larry Doby. Remember, we have a bridge named after Larry Doby here. I think he was the second Negro ball player, right?
That's
Was he?
correct.
Right
Yep.
up there. I know he's a hell of a ball player, but he's a local guy, I think, from Pennsylvania. I know they named something after him around here. I think I have an old picture of him somewhere laying around. Not sure.
I mean,
But
the one
excuse
thing
me.
the one thing I would say about Cleveland though is even though you said they're number one in the AL Central Division, they're
For
not a
now.
they're not a good team. They're really not a good team.
Well, on paper, maybe not. Right now, they're in first place again. What is it? They 7-5, 12 games into it. Um, but White Sox should win that. White Sox should win that. They got the tools. It's a long season, Nick. It's not how you start; it's how
How you
you finish this marathon of a game. You think it starts late February, pitches and catches. You got all of March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Keep going. October now trickles into the first few days of November.
well, the one thing I will say is the White Sox probably have the best pitcher in all of Major League Baseball with Giolito, who I think is probably going to be one of the best young up and coming stars
Okay,
in the game.
fair enough.
When I look at Cleveland, I don't see much. I mean, I looked at the matchup. It says that the pitcher chosen is undecided. That's going to start the game for Cleveland against the Yankees.
I don't care. I think the Yankees could put up 7 or 8 tonight, but I did do. Again, I'm going with the do factor tonight. The weather's perfect right now. Again, we're recording a little earlier than normal. Normally, we record on Fridays and Mondays at 1 o'clock. And as we said, 4 o'clock, it's normally ready for viewing, I said. Yeah, but I can't believe 2 weeks have gone by. We got another week of April. Next, it's May. And again, it goes fast, Nick. Next thing you know, it'll be the All-Star break, and you'll be like, okay, now you're starting to take a look at things. And I said last show or the show prior, look what Washington, the year they won their World Series. They were under 500 at the break, right?
Well, I think there were 40 and 41 at the All-Star break,
Okay.
and then they went on a 14-game winning streak, and that's what kind of propelled them into the playoffs. I don't know. I don't like the way the Yankees look this year. To be quite honest, I just don't.
Are you a Yankee fan, Nicholas?
Yes, I'm a big Yankee fan. I've been a Yankee fan since the 90s. So
And also, you're a Nets fan, too. We're going to talk about them after we talk some more baseball. I grew up a Met fan, but I always rooted for the Yankees. When I was a kid, Yankees were horrible. They had Horace Clarke, Bobby Mercer. He's like a legend in Yankee uniform. Roy White. And then they started developing Chris Chambliss, and they got Nettles over from Cleveland, I think, and Bucky Dent. I think Bucky went to, but they get Bucky from the White Sox. I think Bucky Dent was a White Sox. Guidry came along, and they obviously had those Reggie years. When
that was, by the way, Bucky was the famous home run at Fenway Park.
Mike
before-
Torres. Mike
before-
Torres. Yeah, he hit it off Mike Torres. I remember it. I watched it. I remember the Reds when they were the big red machine. They were tough. The swinging A's, they were tough. Joe Rudy, Sal Bando, Reggie in an Oakland uniform. I'm not the biggest statistical guy, and I've made that clear over the last 30 years of doing this. 28. This will be my 29th season. Unbelievable. But when it comes down to history, I do have a keen. When I was a kid, even the old guys, the drunkers at the VFW and the Elk and Moose clubs, ask the kid. He knows when he was born. What is he batting, kid? Who? And I break it down. That's all I read. I went to school. I hated it, really. But I read a lot of books about sports and baseball especially. So baseball's changed. You got to change with it. Just like this crazy internet world. I've been fighting it. I'm too old to fight it. I'm not going to win it, so I'm embracing it or trying to an extent. To an extent, like now, I don't even log in. Hey, get me on this thing. I just don't know. I don't want to hit the wrong button. Kind of, I'm the talent. Let's rock and roll, and everybody else press the friggin' buttons. But it is good, though. I mean, we can record these shows miles and miles away, Nick. You're in New York. I'm here. It's very clear. You know, I still don't like doing the FaceTime talks. You know, I like talking. I want to remember a little bit of what was. Don't have a telephone in my house, though. I gave that up when we moved from Weehawken, a real telephone, a hard line, everything's cell phone. And again, everything's changing, man.
We have the wireless things that you put on the receiver, not the actual thing, like where you pick up the phone off the thing and it charges itself. But otherwise, we walk around with our cell phones all the time. That's all we do.
So for an alarm through like ATD, whatever they're called, you have to have a hardline phone in the house. If I think it used to be that way, but now it's probably wireless. I don't trust wireless alarms. Anybody can hack it. They're hacking into anything. Let me bolt it. Let me put the dog out in front with the chain on, one of them things, and, you know, beware, owner has gun sign. That's pretty good safety right there.
That's the old-fashioned days right there.
Yeah, and also a doormat that said family not welcome.
Right.
Family welcome, not welcome. Turn it over, depending on what family member's coming. But yeah, some thoughts on the games over in the Milwaukee Philly game tonight, 8 over in the Bronx, over 8 as we are recording. I do like Atlanta tonight over the Fish, a little higher. I try to keep it at 140, 145 at home. I said that. But I think Atlanta needs, you know, they got a good club. They struggled a little bit to start the year. I did predict they'd go under the win total in our preview show. If you go back and, you know, you can catch all the shows on right here, Empty the Pen, and all the various shows. Nick, congratulations. You had a new show premiering today. Jill, you want to talk about that real quick? Get off the sports just for a second, and then we'll go back, talk some NBA. And I'm going to get out there. I'm going to get on the blacktop, put some baby oil on and some iodine like they did back in the 50s. Lay on the rooftop in Brooklyn, you know, but
you're not talking
about plans for the day.
You're not talking about cooking oil, are you?
No, but they did baby oil with. Well, they used to do that too. Sick and night, you'd be able to cook your skin like bacon.
My uncle,
baby oil, a little iodine in it. Ask your mother. They did. This was a big New York thing back in the day, 60s especially. On top of the roofs, you know, they wrote songs about that. Actually,
my uncle actually way back in the day he did the cooking oil. I'm not even kidding you.
No, I believe it. It was a common thing, and it worked. I mean, it cooks. It'll cook your skin. You know, so yeah, you want to get out there. You want to burn your skin a few years. That's a good way to do it. But I've abused the sun myself over the years, so I'm definitely pro sun, but I'm not putting no Crisco oil on my fucking body. That's for sure. Why don't you just put me in a little fucking French fry bucket and sit me out there like this? I can watch the TV and cook at the same time. A little fun on the side here. So yeah, new show, real quick, comedy show. I try to have a little comedy behind each and every show we do. My wife, keeping it real. We're back next Wednesday. Excited about that. So let's talk about the new show. It's a popular show. It's been around a while.
Yeah. So it's called The Big Bad Broadcast is the name of the show. There are 5 comedians. They've been in the business a long time. It's through another friend of ours, Jerry Barmesh, who does a podcast.
A friend of ours, like a wise guy. He's a friend of ours. He's a friend. Okay, I get with a little humor. Okay, maybe I can join the big band group.
You should. I think you'd be funny on there.
Give me an invite.
And so they have massive listens. Like this week, the episode that dropped today, they had Clint Howard.
Nice. You mentioned that last week. Yeah. How'd they do? Did they do well? I didn't catch it yet.
It just came out as we're taping. It came out about an hour ago.
Okay, so you really haven't had a chance to dive into it, the whole segment.
Right. So it's out there. They tape it every week like we tape this show, and it looked good from what I saw, and it's really funny. They're great. They're 5 amazing comedians that have been in the business probably 30 to 40 years.
Nice.
And I sat with them in a meeting, and I just laughed before we even took the show over and brought it over here. So
Yeah, that's good. When you get a bunch of comedians that are talented working together, it's nothing better than that. I stopped going to the last comedy act I saw was my buddy Joey Diaz, Coco Diaz. Followed him around for a little bit, and he stopped touring, but he still has that popular podcast, Uncle Joey's Joint. Now that's very funny. Maybe the guys from your show can get him on there now, but that's a little X-rated, though. He's got a little X-rated there, Joey Diaz, but
you have
he's
no
funny as
idea.
hell.
You have
Huh?
no idea. You have no idea. This podcast goes way out there, and
Well,
some
then Coco would be a good fit for it because he got more stories, as many stories as me. And together we can write a book like Dr. Seuss. More stories than Dr. Seuss. Only ours are true. Green eggs and ham.
can you say Dr. Seuss anymore though?
No, I know.
I'm
God
totally
forbid. All right,
but
let's get back to the NBA. I discussed my thoughts on some games tonight. I'll recap at the end of the show. But Nick, dive into tonight's game. What are we doing? We playing Chicago tonight? What are we doing? Who are we playing tonight? Miami tonight, rather. Miami minus two basically at Atlanta. Have to lean on Miami, but again, unofficial. Bulls are playing Milwaukee tonight. That series is tied at 1, right?
I like the upsets actually in the Milwaukee Chicago series. I like Chicago. Milwaukee just had a massive injury the other night with Chris Middleton, who's the second star on the team. They don't have him. Giannis can carry a team, but when you don't have your second guy you need 2 stars really to win in this league.
Of course. Kobe can relate to that. He tried to be the star. And again, one of the best feelings I had all year when the Lakers were eliminated. I was happy. I respect his talent. I really do. You've got to be in the top 5 at least. Not my top 5, but because I'm biased a little bit towards his actions, just his actions, not his talent. But I was relieved when he didn't make it. But I don't think he cared too much. Does he get North note for just 1 second? Does he return with the Lakers? And if he does, are they going to be effective?
See, you're talking to one of the number 1 LeBron haters in the world, which is
okay.
me.
Notice when you don't like something, you don't like something. It's like me. You don't like it, you don't like it.
No. I love talking about LeBron though, but because I can point out the facts, unlike most people.
But can you do it without being biased towards him?
So what I can say is, one, I don't think he'll be back with the Lakers. That's my opinion. He could be back. He's saying all the right things right now, which a lot of guys do, but his son is getting ready to come into the league in the next year or so.
He wants to play with his son. That's something I remember hearing, right? His goal is to play 1 year. And I hear the kid's spectacular himself.
It would make me laugh. It would make me laugh if Bronny Jr. ended up with the Knicks. And then LeBron ended up in New York after his prime, though.
Well, we've seen stuff. Willie Mays hit the Mets after his prime was expired. He actually made a crucial error in the World Series against Oakland, and he looked embarrassing. And I cried for him. I was like, Willie, you got to go. And I'm a big fan. Like, this time you just got to go. Basketball is a little different. And these athletes today, they're stronger. Their longevity because of nutrition and exercise and diet, all that neat stuff. Back in the day, hot dogs, hamburgers, steaks, steroids, just blow up.
Look at Babe Ruth back in the day. Do you remember what they used to say? The Babe did it on beer and hot dogs. Yeah. During the Barry Bonds stretch, when he was going for the home run record, there was in Philly, they held that exact sign up. The Babe did it on beer and hot dogs. Barry Bonds is doing it on roids.
Well, you know what? Maybe they made the hot dogs differently back then instead of all fillers and everything. Maybe they injected it with you got to remember back in that era, cocaine was pretty legal too. It was in soda. It was used recreationally.
Coca-Cola.
Yep. I think they banned it in the early 30s, cocaine. It was, and Babe Ruth, his days were in the teens and the 20s. By the 30s, early 30s, he started decaying. His career started tapering off. And as we know, he went up to Boston as a Brave and was promised that position as manager and never got it. And that ended that. His numbers were incredible, though. He ran well. Even Ty Cobb gave him credit. He said he ran well for a fat man. You watch the movie Ty Cobb with Tommy Lee Jones. Amazing. One of the favorites. It's funny. It's funny. I forgot the actor Bob Worrell. He's been at 77 a bunch of times on Sid's show. Forgot his name. All right, so you like the dogs tonight? You're saying
I like
all
I
three
like
dogs tonight?
I like the Bulls. That's my number one that I like.
Okay.
Because again, Chris Middleton is hurt, and they said that he's got basically a pulled ACL, or basically he can't play. He's not going to play for at least the next 2 games based on how serious the injury is. So if he doesn't play, I think the Bulls are going to pull away in this series. I think it's 1-1 now.
Yeah, it's 1-1. You got Suns and Pelicans tied at 1, and they just suffered a loss too. The Suns, right? You think that affects them? They're only -2, coming off of a loss, rather. But they're at New Orleans.
It depends if Devin Booker plays. And even if he plays, if he doesn't play well, it's almost a hindrance being out on the court, even if he plays.
Sometimes you're right. If you're not 100%, there's a couple of exceptions. Willis Reed back in his day, I mean, what he did back then, I remember watching it like it was yesterday, and feel like singing the Beatles song, Yesterday. Yeah, again, these athletes are built differently. You know, they're made to last longer these days. So, okay, because I'm not trying to I want to get out of here in a few minutes, because if not, next thing you know, it's an hour and 20 minutes deep. I have keep going and like Pac-Man, wonka, wonka, wonka. So, again, the only thing I really can say in the NBA that I like tomorrow is, I got to say Toronto to avoid the sweep, but maybe they're flattened already. I don't know. And I hope Corey hedged, because he was big on them winning the East.
Well,
you know,
I'll give you a fun fact about Philly also. So Joel Embiid, who's the big man, the star in the NBA,
I watch him. Yes, familiar.
First big man to win the scoring title since Shaq.
Oh, he did beat James, because I know they were battling at one time. James was leading towards the end, right? Then he hurt himself by not playing, right?
He didn't play the last couple games.
That was the difference of number 1 and number 2?
Well, the annoying or the fucked up thing I like to say about that is that when people hold a record, it happens more in baseball than it does in the NBA. Oh, well, I have the batting title. I'm not going to play the last 2 days, so my average doesn't go down. I mean, I think that's stupid.
There has been a couple of times when people were flirting with that the last couple of games of the season. I'm at 302. I don't want to jeopardize my 300 average. You saw it even back in the day. They'd sit, but the real players would just play, unless that shows selfishness. The game's meant for whether it was 154 games or 162. Take injuries out of it, of course. And again, I just respect old school players. I give these kids talent. I say kids because they're 25, 30, and 60. They're men making a lot of money, really, when you look at it.
I mean, forget it. Today, they're making between 10 and, well, I should even go higher, $15 and $35 million a year, some of these guys. I mean, the
fucking game.
Corey Seager, who signed with the Rangers, signed a 10-year, I want to say close to $340 million contract with the Rangers. The amount of money in baseball now, with all the infusion of the streaming platforms, with all the money, it's going to be more.
That last Texas Ranger to draw that type of salary was A-Rod. He got 200 and something, didn't he, back then? 280 or something like that?
10 years. It was the first big contract. It was 10 years, 252.
Yeah. Okay. It seemed it was 2000, right?
I think it was 2000. After being with Seattle, he signed with Texas.
He stayed a couple of years there, right? And then he went to the Bronx. He was with Texas for like 3-4 years, maybe?
I think
maybe.
I think it was 4 to 5, maybe.
Okay, it was that long down there. Yeah, because I know he came to New York, in 06, 05, 06?
Well,
like
when Aaron Boone got hurt, ironically, when he was playing a pickup basketball game with the Yankees, I think it was 06.
Okay, they brought in A-Rod from Texas.
They basically traded for I think they traded for A-Rod, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, the original story behind that was that A-Rod was supposed to be traded to Boston. And
I remember that conversation a little bit.
And MLB put the kibosh on that,
right? Then they block it. Oh,
and the rest is history. And now he was in a Yankee uniform.
Still, kind of, one thing I do respect. He didn't try to stick around for number 700. What did he leave with? 694, something like that.
It was somewhere in the 690s.
He was in the 90s. By all rights, he could have. I think that saved kind of his reputation a little bit, because he proved. Listen, who wouldn't want to push to be part of that elite club of 700 plus. What do you got? Aaron, of course.
Yeah, you have Aaron. You have
Bonds, of course.
in my opinion, and even for my age, people tell me like I sound older when I have this opinion. Hank Aaron, in my opinion, is the home run leader. That's my.
Watched him. You know what? He was a great ball. Look at his numbers. And again, I keep rambling. His numbers across the board were great. The guy can do it all. And you had Willie Mays as a kid. Willie Mays and Hank Aaron. You had your favorites, but they were both in the National League. It was good baseball. It really was. And then you had Tom Seaver, Steve Carlton, who was the best. Well, one's a lefty, one's a righty.
Did you see the statue?
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, I broke my heart. George Thomas Tom Seaver. That's his real name. George Thomas Tom Seaver. Darrell McKinley Bud Harrelson, born on D-Day, 1944. I remember I used to know all their dates of birth and their Davy Schnack. George the Stork Theodore. You remember him?
I do.
Couldn't even afford a pair of cleats. The Mets had to buy him his pair of Rydell cleats, Rydells, back in the day, the little cheap ones.
Wow.
Ball players, shitty ball players only made like 30,000 back then if they were lucky. So, Nick, I'm going to recap everything tomorrow. Little lean on Toronto plus the 3. Today, I do like a little bet tonight. Got to lay a little bit of money, 140, 145. Couple of totals to go over. Milwaukee at Philly over the 8, and the same in the Bronx over 8 runs. Don't care who's pitching for Cleveland. Even if they got their ace on, I like runs tonight. I think the Yankees are going to produce. Could be wrong, could be right. That's the beauty of this. It's a long season. Baseball is, if you can hit 57%, 56%, and you're playing the numbers right, not you're hitting those right amount of underdogs, practice that money management. Don't panic. Keep your emotions out of it. When you start betting early and you lose, it's usually the start of a bad day. But most people are so competitive that they'll keep grinding. And like next thing you know, they're betting the West Coast games that start 9:30, 10 o'clock, whatever. All right, Nicholas, again, episode 3 in the books Monday. Make sure to join.
Again. 1 second. Do you want me to give you the NBA favorites also? Because I don't know if we officially gave those numbers either, if we were taking the overs or the favorites or not.
Good. Spit it out. Good.
Okay, so I would take Chicago, so I'm taking the underdog there.
In the series or tonight's game?
Tonight's game for sure. I would take
the difference. We talking series or game?
No, game right now.
All right,
I would, but I think if Chris Middleton doesn't come back, I would take them for the series. But
well, the good thing, we'll figure that out tonight, right? When they play, you'll see if he plays and if he's effective, and he might even aggravate the injury more if he does attempt to play.
And then Miami, I would sell high on Miami. I would just keep going with them.
Right, -1.5, 2 points. Take them on the money line.
Yeah, I would ride with them until they don't win anymore.
I agree on that one. If I'm going to go with that Atlanta, they're at home 2-0. I kind of like Miami to go up 3-0. It's a cheap number, but just play it on the money line. There's no reason to risk 1.5, 2. A lot of times the game they win by 1, so just play it on the friggin' money line.
And then
low number.
And then I'll give you an upset. Also, I would take the Pelicans tonight.
Oh, it's not that bad of an upset. Only 2 points. An upset to me is when a team's getting 7 and they win outright. But at home, 2 points. I kind of, we'll figure. Suns played 64 wins they had this year. Now 1-1. You said there's a key injury that could affect obviously the Booker, right?
Yeah, and also Chris Paul is like a stock. It's up one time and down the other with his injuries. But if Devin Booker's not going to be 100%. We already know it. Even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. And this is an aggravated injury he's had over the last couple of playoff years. So I would ride the Pelicans tonight.
What they did back in the day, they shot you up with a little something to hold off the injury. You dealt with it after the season. A lot of times that hurt more than it helped, though, because you were really hurting yourself. I forgot what remember they put the freeze on you at first base. You get hit by a pitch, they come shoot you with that gun or
right.
their leg, whatever. They freeze it. But
look at Michael Jordan.
What's that?
Look at Michael Jordan. He played sick.
Because he's a man. That's what men do. They play. They go to work sick. sometimes you got to stay home, but there's a difference between being sick and having a little sniffles. Oh, sniffles. All right, you're not going to talk me into any more. I'm out of here. Thanks for joining us. Episode 3 in the books. Monday, we'll have the amazing Joe Lisi. I challenge anybody to test your college football wits against this guy. No notes needed. An encyclopedia. Actually has his own book. And I hope he brings that up. But you ask him anything. Prepare any question. Don't let him know what it is. And he'll answer it. Anybody out there on the spot, when we go live, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to send Nick questions that we can answer. And again, we're getting used to everything here. Empty the Bench is pretty new network, right? Few months deep, growing slowly. Like you know what? Sometimes when things take off too fast, they usually crash. You got to get there. Steady Eddie. Steady Eddie. Slow and steady wins the race, they say. Anyway, guys, girls, wherever you are, have a good weekend. Hope you joined the show, or hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope that you join us on Monday. I feel like Porky the Pig. That's all, folks. Honestly, have a good fucking weekend, everybody.
We'll see you on Monday.
Okay.